Chris Grier has been here before. You'd think he'd have learned. Maybe he has. Maybe he hasn't. But here we are again, staring down another offseason where Miami's roster looks more like a construction zone than a championship contender. And yet, history tells us one thing. When Grier picks the best player on the board, no matter what the roster says, the Dolphins tend to get it right. When he chases a need, well, that's when things get messy. So, here we go again. Same cycle. Free agency first. Patch the holes with whatever money is left. Hope some vets take a discount. And then roll into the draft ready to take the best talent available. Sometimes it means ignoring glaring needs, like last year when Miami didn't draft a defensive tackle or an offensive guard, despite those positions screaming for help. Instead, they waited. Terry Tart and Calais Campbell arrived late, and that was that. The Dolphins will need every bit of that patience this year because, right now, this roster is a shell of what it was. Pick a position, any position. Chances are Miami needs bodies. Real bodies. Not camp arms or special teams hopefuls. Starters. Depth pieces. Guys who can survive an 18-week grind and still be standing in January. The defensive line is basically non-existent. Safety. One guy under contract, and he played 8 defensive snaps all year. Offensive guard. Miami has exactly one. That's right, one. Right now, the only safety under contract is Patrick McMorris, a 6th-round pick in 2024. He's the only one. You need at least 4 to function in an NFL secondary. At least. And the offensive line? It's Braden Daniels. That's the list. He's bounced between 6 teams in 2 years, and now he's the only guard Miami has under contract because Robert Jones, Liam Eichenberg, and Isaiah Wynn are free agents. The Dolphins usually bring 6 into training camp. Keep 3 or 4 on the final roster. Right now, they have 1. That's not a depth issue. It's an emergency. Quarterback. Technically, Tua is the only one under contract for 2024. Mike White. Contract voided. Skylar Thompson. Exclusive rights free agent. You're one Tua injury away from nothing. Chris Grier has work to do. A lot of it. And as usual, there's not a whole lot of money to make it happen. The NFL's salary cap doesn't wait for anyone, and Miami needs to be compliant by March 12th. The good news? Restructuring Terron Armstead's contract helps. Cutting his salary down to the minimum, $1.25 million, gives Miami some breathing room. The bad news? There's still not a ton to spend. That move puts the Dolphins roughly $14 million under the cap. But hold on, because that's before they slap a $3.3 million tender on Kader Kohou to make sure he doesn't walk in free agency. Do that, and Miami is sitting at just under $11 million in cap space. $11 million. To put that in perspective, Miami's biggest 5 signings this offseason, Jordan Brooks, Aaron Brewer, Kendall Fuller, Jonna Smith, and Jordan Poyer, cost a combined $12 million against the cap in their first year. And that's 5 legitimate starters. So, unless Miami suddenly finds more cap space, they're looking at about 5 mid-tier signings. 5. And that's not even addressing the looming decisions ahead. So what's the move? Because there has to be one. Miami can't just sit back and hope for the best. They need to either restructure deals or make some hard cuts. Tua's contract. That could free up $19.3 million with a restructure. But that also means pushing a bigger cap hit down the road. Future problems that will eventually need answers. Bradley Chubb? If the Dolphins designate him as a post-June 1 cut, they'd free up $19.5 million. But that money wouldn't be available until June 1st. That means Miami would be bargain hunting in free agency, while other teams scoop up the best talent available. And this is the situation they find themselves in. This is where Chris Grier's philosophy gets tested. Draft for need, or draft for talent. Miami has 10 picks. That's a lot. But will they spend them filling holes just to survive 2024? Or will they take the best players available? The guys who can actually change the trajectory of this team for the long haul? This team has talent. Nobody is questioning that. But it also has problems. Problems that can't be fixed overnight. Especially not with an $11 million budget. So what happens next? That's the $1 million question. And it's one Miami needs to answer fast.